Boy, this ain't McDonald's. You don't check your pockets here. Check your balance, or step aside. The manager laughed. Until the kid pulled out the receipt. Before we dive into this story, I need to know something. Have you ever been judged by how you looked before anyone asked who you were? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one. And if you've ever believed that quiet people sometimes hold the loudest truth, hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you'll want to hear how this ends. Now, let me take you back to where it all began. The first time Jeremiah stepped into that bank, the glass doors nearly bounced back at him. It was the start of spring in Decatur, Georgia, warm enough to skip the jacket, but not the hoodie. His was 2 sizes too small. The zipper stuck at the top, and the sleeves barely reached his wrists. His shoes, old Skechers, were once black, now gray. The soles peeled up like they were tired of the road, just like his legs were tired of walking. He had saved up 3 months for the bus pass but decided today he'd walk the 5 miles instead. Inside the bank, the cold air smelled like printer toner and lemon disinfectant. The carpet had footprints baked into it, for people stood in line. Everyone looked up when he walked in, then looked away. The manager, Mr. Dalton, was standing by the customer desk. Mid-50s, hair slicked back with too much gel, navy blue suit, gold cufflinks. He didn't say a word, but his eyebrows lifted the moment he saw Jeremiah. Just a look, like the boy had brought in the wrong kind of air. Jeremiah didn't flinch. He didn't ask for directions. He didn't even pause. He just walked up to the counter, eyes low, voice quiet. "I need to check my account." The woman behind the counter gave a polite smile. "Do you have an ID, sweetheart?" He nodded and handed it over. Georgia State ID, slightly bent. The woman squinted at it. Then her screen. Behind him, Mr. Dalton approached. Slowly, like a lion who already smelled weakness. He looked at the screen. Looked at Jeremiah. Smirked. "You sure you even got an account here?" Dalton said, not even hiding the laugh. Jeremiah didn't answer. Dalton turned to the woman. "Probably just trying to check for loose change," he joked. "Let's not waste our time here." The woman hesitated. "Actually, sir, there's—" Dalton cut her off with a wave. "It's fine. Kid, this ain't McDonald's. You don't check your pockets here. Check your balance, or step aside." People in line chuckled. Someone even pulled out a phone. Jeremiah reached into his hoodie pocket. Not fast. Not dramatic. Just calm. Like someone who had done this before. He pulled out a folded piece of paper. A printout from an ATM. He placed it gently on the counter. The teller picked it up. Her eyes widened. She looked again at the screen, then at Jeremiah. "Sir, he has over $240,000 in this account." The silence hit like thunder. Dalton blinked. Twice. "What?" Jeremiah looked up for the first time. Eyes steady. Voice soft. "I'm here to move it." He didn't explain where the money came from. He didn't owe them that. But everyone in that room suddenly wanted to know. Outside the bank, the sun was already too bright for someone who just burned every eye in the room. But Jeremiah didn't celebrate. He didn't smile. He just stepped out, took a breath, and kept walking. The school bell at Walker High rang at 3:15 p.m. The hallway filled with the sound of lockers slamming, sneakers squeaking, and TikTok videos playing on full volume. Jeremiah kept to the left wall, his backpack weighing heavier than it should. Not from books, from silence. He didn't talk much in school. Not because he couldn't, just because he learned early words cost more than people knew. At home, it was just him and Mama. And Mama hadn't smiled in 4 months. That night, while she slept, Jeremiah sat on the floor in the living room with his laptop open. The Wi-Fi signal from the neighbor's apartment came and went, but it was enough. He had been learning something. Quietly. Every night. Not gaming. Not scrolling. He was watching stock charts, crypto trends, and teaching himself how to move small money into big moves. He didn't brag. He didn't post it. He just stacked. 3 months ago, he started with $93.17. Today, it was enough to scare a bank manager. But that wasn't the story he wanted to tell. Not yet. At school, no one knew. Not even his best friend, Trey. He still showed up in the same hoodie, still wore those broken shoes, still sat at the back of class. Because to Jeremiah, power wasn't how loud you talked. It was how long you waited before showing your hand. That Friday, his mama got a call. The landlord. They had 10 days, she cried in the kitchen. Quiet, but not quiet enough. That night, Jeremiah made a decision. No more learning. And no more saving. It was time to move. When he walked into that bank Monday morning, it wasn't just about the money. It was about being seen. And the moment they laughed at him, they showed him exactly who he'd always been fighting. And the crazy part, that was the easiest moment he'd faced that week. But the next person who laughed didn't get the chance to apologize. Jeremiah didn't go home after the bank. He walked past the corner store, past the gas station where old men played the lottery every morning, past the stop sign where he used to wait for the school bus. He walked to the house on Ridge Avenue. A white ranch style with peeling paint and a busted screen door. The kind of house you walk by and never look twice at. But inside, that was the reason he'd done everything. His mama was folding towels on the couch when he came in. The living room smelled like lavender and leftover coffee. Her hair was tied in a scarf, her body moving slow like her bones had memories. "You went to school today?" she asked. Jeremiah nodded. She didn't press. He never lied. Not to her. He reached into his hoodie and pulled out the same paper from the bank. Set it gently on the coffee table. She looked down, then looked again. Her hands froze mid-fold. "Jeremiah, baby, what is this?" He sat down beside her, quiet. "I can pay the rent, Mama. All of it. I can pay it for the whole year if you want." She stared at him like she was seeing someone new. "I've been learning, investing, watching everything they teach people with money. I didn't tell you because I didn't want to say nothing until I knew it would work." She dropped the towel. Not in anger. In disbelief. Then she reached for his hand. Her voice cracked. "You did all this for me?" He nodded once. "Always." But just when the world started feeling soft again, it got sharp. Fast. 3 days later, the story broke. Somebody had leaked a photo. Jeremiah standing in the bank. Worn-out shoes. Hoodie too small. And the headline? "Teen in rags walks into Georgia bank with $250,000 account." They didn't use his name. But they didn't have to. Walker High found out by lunch. Trey slammed a printed screenshot down on their cafeteria table. "Bro, tell me this ain't real. Tell me this is Photoshop." Jeremiah didn't blink. "It's real." Trey looked around. People were whispering. Girls who never looked at him before suddenly lingered. Teachers stared longer than usual in the halls. Jeremiah hated it. Not the attention. The way they looked at him now. Not like a person, like a headline. That afternoon, Mr. Reynolds, the assistant principal, called him into his office. "Jeremiah, I'll get straight to the point," he said, adjusting his tie. "Some of the parents saw that article. They're concerned." "Concerned about what?" Jeremiah asked. "About where that money came from. They want to make sure everything is, legitimate." Jeremiah stared at the man. "I didn't steal it. I worked for it. I learned how to make it." Reynolds shifted in his seat. "Well, son, I'm just relaying concerns. You know how people can get." Jeremiah stood up. "I do." And he walked out. That night, the bank called. "Mr. Ellis? This is Jeremiah. Sorry, we were looking for a parent or guardian. I handle my own finances. What's the issue?" "There's been unusual activity on your account." "No fraud." "Well, no, but I know every dollar in there. Don't freeze it." Click. It's wild, isn't it? How fast people flip the moment your truth makes them uncomfortable. They'll praise you when you're broke and quiet, but doubt you the second you rise. If you've ever had to defend your own success just to breathe, you're not alone. And honestly, that's why stories like this matter. Jeremiah was used to pressure. But not this kind. People didn't just want to know how he made the money, they wanted to control it. Own it. Tame it. So he decided to disappear for a while. No more school for the week. No online posts. He needed space. But space didn't come. 2 days later, the knock came. Hard point 3 times. Not the mailman. Not the landlord. Not a neighbor. His mama opened the door, then froze. "Can I help you?" she asked. A white man stood on the porch. Brown blazer. Clip-on badge. "Jeremiah Ellis?" he asked. "I'm from the county. We had a report filed. Mind if I come in?" She didn't let him in. But what she saw in his eyes told her this wasn't the end. It was just the first knock. That night, Jeremiah sat on the porch. Hoodie on. Eyes heavy. He didn't feel rich. He didn't feel safe. He felt watched. The money had bought them time, but not peace. And what hurt most? It wasn't the strangers. It was the people who knew him and still didn't believe. Pride can make you blind. But Jeremiah was about to learn. It could make others cruel. The next morning, Jeremiah was back at school. Backpack slung low, hoodie up, head down. He walked through the main hallway like nothing had changed. But it had. People didn't whisper anymore. They stared. And not like before. Now it was like he didn't belong. Not because he was poor, but because he wasn't anymore. Trey caught up with him near the lockers. "You good, bro?" Jeremiah nodded, even though he wasn't. "I'm fine. You sure? You've been ghost for days. Everybody's talking. Even Coach was asking. I just needed time. That's all." Trey leaned against the locker. "You still you, right?" Jeremiah paused. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing, man. Just you got money now. That changes stuff." Jeremiah looked him dead in the eye. "It doesn't change me." But deep down, he wasn't so sure anymore. In class, teachers started calling on him more. As if success had made him suddenly smarter. Mrs. Halverson, his math teacher, smiled too much now. "Jeremiah, maybe you could explain the formula to the class. You seem to have a knack for numbers." He knew what she was doing. He said nothing. Solved the problem. Kept his head down. That afternoon, Jeremiah walked to the CVS to get toothpaste. The cashier scanned his items, then looked at him closely. "You're that kid from the news, huh?" He didn't answer. But she kept talking. "My cousin tried that crypto stuff. Lost everything. Hope you know what you're doing." He paid in cash. Left in silence. It wasn't the money that made him feel distant. It was the way people kept reminding him he didn't earn their respect. Just their suspicion. That night at home, his mom made chili. The house smelled like tomatoes and garlic and warmth. She poured 2 bowls, sat across from him at the wobbly kitchen table. "You okay, baby?" He nodded. But she wasn't convinced. "They're treating me different," he finally said. "Like I'm something to figure out, not someone they know." She stirred her spoon slowly. "They don't know you, baby. Not like I do. Feels like even Trey don't." His mother gave a soft smile. "Money's just a flashlight, Jeremiah. It don't change what's there. It just makes people see what they already wanted to see." He sat with that. Let it sink in. Didn't speak for the rest of dinner. The next morning, he tried something new. He dressed better. Pulled out the shoes he'd bought online. Clean black Nikes. Wore a new hoodie. Same backpack. When he walked into school, the stares came quicker. Not because he looked poor. Now it was because he didn't. He thought it would help. It didn't. At lunch, he sat alone. Trey didn't show. He texted him. No reply. He scrolled Instagram. Trey had posted a photo with some other guys. No caption. No tag. But he saw it. He felt it. It hit harder than he expected. Success hadn't just changed how people saw him. It was changing who he could count on. That weekend, Jeremiah avoided everything. Didn't go out. Didn't log in. Didn't check his balance. He sat in his room and listened to old music. Back when life was quieter. Back when no one knew. He thought maybe if he just laid low, people would forget. That life could go back to normal. But pride is a liar. And pretending nothing changed didn't stop the world from changing anyway. Monday came. And with it, a letter. A real one. Folded in an envelope. Stamped. Addressed to him. Inside. A formal notice. IRS review request. Financial activity flagged for minor underage reporting. It wasn't a bill. It wasn't a threat. But it was enough to shake him. He had played the game smart. But the system didn't care about smart. It cared about control. And now, it was reaching for him. Jeremiah sat at the kitchen table, the IRS letter open in front of him. He read it again. And again. No threats. No fine. Just a review request. But it felt bigger than that. Like a shadow had stepped into the room and refused to leave. His mama stood at the sink, washing dishes. The hot water steamed the window in front of her. Outside, cars passed, one every few minutes. Jeremiah, she said softly, you're gonna need help. I can figure it out, he said. You don't have to worry about it. She turned, drying her hands on a towel. I wasn't asking if you could figure it out. I said you need help. He hated that. Not the truth, just the feeling that maybe she was right. The next day, she took him to a community office downtown. Not a big government building. Just a small nonprofit near the library. The sign out front read, Youth Financial Advocacy Services. Inside, the floors creaked. There was a coffee pot near the window and a fan humming from the back room. The walls had posters about scholarships, tax tips, and student loans. That's where he met her. Her name was Miss Val. She looked about 40, wore glasses on her head, and spoke with a calm voice that felt like warm tea. She didn't ask stupid questions. Didn't talk down to him. She just listened. So you made this yourself? She asked, holding the spreadsheet he brought. Jeremiah nodded. Watched videos, took notes, ran numbers. She smiled at the paper. Better than half the adults I've met. He didn't smile back. I just want them off my back. Miss Val leaned forward. Jeremiah, the system's not built to leave you alone. You can be right, smart, careful, still get flagged. He looked down. Then what's the point? The point, she said gently, is learning how to move inside it, without losing yourself. They worked together for an hour. Went through every transaction. Every dollar earned. She helped him write a reply. Filed it. Made copies. You're clean, she said, handing him a folder. Don't let fear tell you otherwise. He didn't know it yet. But Miss Val wasn't just solving his problem. She was about to change his future. That weekend, Jeremiah stayed late at the center. Miss Val asked if he wanted to volunteer. He said yes. He helped print flyers, organize folders, clean up the back room. At first, it was just something to do. Then he started listening to the other kids, the stories. A girl his age was working 2 jobs to pay for her mom's medicine. A 19-year-old had just aged out of foster care and didn't know how to open a bank account. Jeremiah had always felt alone. Turns out, he wasn't. On Wednesday, Miss Val handed him a stack of envelopes. Deliver these to the youth center across the street. He walked over, pushed through the glass door, and there, sitting in the back of the room, was Trey. They locked eyes. No words at first. Then Trey stood, arms folded. You volunteering now? Jeremiah nodded. You too. Trey shrugged. Court ordered. Got into it with some kid in the parking lot. Long story. Jeremiah cracked a small smile. Still throwing hands? Still avoiding people? Trey shot back. They both laughed. It wasn't the same as before. But it wasn't broken either. They sat outside on the curb after. No music. No noise. Just air. You mad at me? Trey asked. Jeremiah shook his head. I was just trying to hold on to something, and everything started slipping. I didn't know how to talk to you after all that, Trey said. You looked like you were floating above the rest of us. I wasn't floating, Jeremiah said. I was drowning. Have you ever been stuck with someone who made you feel too much? Like they saw a part of you were trying to hide? Tell me what happened. I want to hear it. The next few days moved fast. Jeremiah kept volunteering, kept learning, kept showing up, not just for the center but for himself. Then Miss Val called him into her office. I've been watching you, she said. You're sharp, focused. You've got a head for this work. I know someone at a program in Atlanta paid internship for financial planning. You'd be perfect. Jeremiah froze. I don't even know if I want that. She leaned back in her chair. You don't have to know. You just have to show up. The doors open. For the first time in weeks, the idea of a future didn't feel heavy. It felt possible. That night, Jeremiah walked the long way home. Past the gas station. Past the bank. He paused in front of it. Same glass doors. Same people inside. But something had changed. Not in the building. In him. He didn't need to prove anything anymore. But that didn't mean the fight was over. Because the next hit was going to come from someone he trusted most. It was a Thursday when everything cracked. Not with a scream. Not with a fight. Just silence. Jeremiah had stayed late again at the center. He was cleaning up flyers in the hallway when he heard Miss Val talking in her office. The door was cracked. She was on the phone. I know, but he's still a minor. That's why I filed the paperwork. So the grant doesn't get flagged. No, he doesn't know yet. We're waiting on approval. Pause. More silence. Then, I'm not taking advantage. I'm helping him the only way the system understands. Jeremiah froze. He stepped back. Something inside him folded tight. She hadn't lied. But she hadn't told him either. Filed what paperwork? Why didn't she say anything? He didn't ask. Not that day. He left without saying goodbye. The next morning, he didn't show up to the center. Didn't text. Didn't check in. He walked the city. Hands in his hoodie. Eyes low. His head spun. It wasn't about the paperwork. It was about trust. He'd let someone in. And even they moved behind his back. He stopped at the Waffle House on 4th and Park. Ordered eggs and toast. The waitress recognized him. You're the money kid, right? He didn't answer. Just sipped his water. People knew his face. But no one knew him. That night, he went home and found his mother at the kitchen table. A second letter sat there. This time, it wasn't from the IRS. It was from a lawyer. What's this? He asked. She hesitated. It's from your father. Jeremiah stared. My what? She looked down. He found out. About the article. The money. He felt like the floor tilted. His father had left when he was 2. Never called. Never wrote. Now he wanted a piece. The letter didn't say much. Just a polite request to open communication. And a note about shared interest in financial planning. Jeremiah wanted to rip it in half. But he didn't. He just walked into his room and closed the door. People had always taken from him. Now they wanted what he built. And he hadn't even started living yet. The next day, Trey showed up at his house. Unannounced. Backpack on. Hoodie up. Jeremiah opened the door, surprised. I thought you were mad at me. Trey looked away. Maybe I was. Maybe I was mad at myself. Jeremiah stepped aside. Let him in. They sat on the porch. No words at first. Then Trey spoke. You ever feel like nothing you do is yours? Jeremiah looked over. All the time. Trey nodded. My brother started asking me for money, just 'cause I hang out with you. He said you owe me for being your day one. Jeremiah blinked. You told him what I have? No, but people talk. They see stuff. He paused. I shut it down. Just thought you should know. There it was again. That creeping feeling like no space was safe. Not the center. Not home. Not even here. That night, Jeremiah didn't sleep. He sat by his window. Phone in his hand. Inbox full. Opportunities. Messages. Fake friends. He thought about giving it all away. Every dollar. Just to breathe again. You ever build something with your whole heart, only to watch people circle it like vultures? You ever feel like peace costs more than money ever buys? If you've been there, that's why stories like this need to be told so no one feels alone in it. Not even you. The next morning, he went to see Miss Val. She looked surprised to see him. I was worried, she said. He sat across from her. Straight face. Clear voice. You filed paperwork. For a grant. Without telling me. She exhaled. I was going to. I just didn't want to scare you off. You said this system doesn't leave people alone. But you did the exact same thing it does. You moved for me instead of with me. She looked down. You're right. I'm sorry. That hit harder than he expected. Not because it was loud. Because it was honest. For the first time in weeks, someone said sorry, and meant it. That was a different kind of wealth. Later that night, Jeremiah walked to the small park near his house. The wind was cold. Leaves rustled across the pavement. He sat on the swings. Alone. Until his mama showed up. She didn't say much. Just sat beside him. I know you're carrying more than you should, she said. I can't take it from you. But I can sit here while you hold it. He didn't cry. But he wanted to, and somehow, just knowing she was there, made the weight feel a little less. By the end of that week, Jeremiah had made his decision. Not about the money. Not about his father. About himself. If the world was going to come for him, he needed to stand taller. Not louder. Not flashier. Just stronger. Because the next hit wasn't going to be about the past. It was about what he'd do next. Sometimes, life breaks you in pieces. And sometimes, it just shatters what's left of your trust. Jeremiah had always been quiet. But quiet didn't mean he wasn't watching, didn't mean he wasn't feeling. That Friday, everything felt off. It started with a text. From a number he didn't know. Check the article. Front page. Online now. He clicked the link. Local teen crypto prodigy under IRS review. Rumors of custody battle spark concern. His name, his face, his story. All out in the open. Again. Except this time they added something new. Sources say the teen's mother may have falsified information to open a minor-controlled account without court approval. Investigations pending. He dropped his phone. Ma! He called out. She was in the hallway folding laundry. He held the screen in front of her. Her face went pale. I didn't talk to anyone, she whispered. I swear, baby. I don't know how they got this. Jeremiah felt it in his chest. That heavy, sharp pressure. Like someone knocked the wind out of him. He stormed out the door. Didn't say where he was going. He walked fast, no music, no phone in hand. Just rage. Just heat. He'd built everything to protect her. And now she was the reason they were pointing fingers. He ended up in front of the bank again. Not for money. Not for anything official. He just stood there, staring at the place it all started. And suddenly he wasn't alone. Mr. Dalton, the manager from the first day. Same slicked back hair. Same stiff suit. Still got that balance? He asked, half joking. Jeremiah didn't laugh. Dalton shrugged. Well, fame comes with a price. Guess you're learning that now. Jeremiah turned to walk away. Careful who you trust, kid, Dalton added. Sometimes, the people closest to you sell your story before the strangers do. He didn't reply. But those words cut deep. Too deep. That night, Jeremiah didn't eat. Didn't speak. His mama sat in the living room. Hands folded. Eyes red. She tried to talk. But he just shook his head and walked past. Upstairs. Door closed. Phone face down. The next morning, Trey showed up again. Jeremiah opened the door slow. Tired. Quiet. You okay? Trey asked. Jeremiah shook his head. Someone leaked stuff to the press. They're dragging my mom into it now. Trey looked down. Then up. I need to tell you something, he said. Voice lower now. It might have been my brother. Jeremiah blinked. What? I didn't know he'd go that far. He was asking questions. Said he knew someone at a blog. I didn't think he'd actually do it. Jeremiah stepped back. You told him stuff. I didn't give details. I swear. But you opened the door, Trey. Silence. Heavy. Jeremiah's hands shook. He didn't yell. Didn't curse. He just said, I needed you to protect me. Not add to the noise. Trey's face dropped. I'm sorry. Jeremiah nodded once. Then closed the door. It wasn't anger anymore. It was grief. The kind that doesn't shout, it just walks away. That night, Jeremiah packed a duffel bag. Few clothes, his laptop, two books. He left a note on the kitchen table. I need space. Don't worry. I'll be safe. He didn't know where he was going. He just knew staying wasn't an option. He took the bus. $1.25 in coins. Rode through 3 towns. Got off in a place with a cheap motel and a coffee shop next door. He used cash. Checked in under a fake name. No questions asked. Inside the motel room, it was quiet. Stiff sheets. Buzzing light. But for the first time in weeks, no phones were ringing. No one was watching. Just him. And the ache. Have you ever lost someone? Not to death, but because they didn't protect your heart when it was in their hands? Comment below. Even one line. I want to know you're still listening. That night, he lay on the bed, eyes wide, mind loud. He thought about his mama, Trey, Miss Val, all of it. Then he asked himself a question he had never dared to ask. If I lost everything tomorrow, who would be left? By sunrise, he still didn't have the answer. But he knew this much. He had to stop running. He had to face what was left. Because maybe, just maybe, what came next wouldn't be the end. It might just be the beginning. The hardest part about healing isn't the pain. It's learning how to stand without hiding anymore. Jeremiah stayed at the motel for 2 days. Didn't go far. Didn't call home. He needed the silence. Not to escape, but to listen. On the 3rd morning, he sat at the small table by the window. No phone. Just a pen. And a blank page from the motel notepad. He started writing. Not to anyone. Not for school. Just to get it out. He wrote about the first time he realized they were poor. About the sound of his mama crying in the next room. About his fear of being seen, and his bigger fear of being invisible. He wrote about success, how loud it was, how lonely it became, and how no one warned him that having money doesn't mean you feel safe. No one knocked on his door. No one interrupted. Just the soft hum of the AC and the rustling of trees outside. That night, Jeremiah walked outside. The motel parking lot was half empty. Streetlights flickered. The air was thick with humidity and gas fumes from the nearby station. He looked up at the sky. No stars. Just clouds. He sat down on the curb, pulled his knees in, rested his chin on them. It was quiet, but not empty. In that moment, he didn't feel strong. He didn't feel broken either. He just was. And sometimes that was enough. He watched cars pass on the highway in the distance. Wondered where they were going. Wondered if anyone else felt like him. Not lost. Not found. Just in the middle. The next morning, he checked out. Took the bus back home. When he walked in, his mama was at the table. Same spot. Eyes tired. Hands still. She didn't yell. Didn't cry. She just stood up and hugged him. Tight. No words. Later that night, he sat her down. I want to go back to the center, he said. I want to work with Miss Val. Learn more. Help people like me. His mama smiled. Soft. Real. That sounds like something you'd be good at. The next day, he showed up at the center. Backpack over one shoulder. Eyes steady. Miss Val looked up from her desk. You ready? She asked. No, he said honestly. But I'm here. She stood up and handed him a folder. This is how it starts. The folder wasn't heavy. But what it held, that was the start of everything real. That weekend, he went to the coffee shop near his school. Laptop open. Headphones in. He opened a new spreadsheet. Not for himself. He titled it, Starter Plan, First $100. A kid walked by and glanced at his screen. Are you that bank kid? Jeremiah smiled. Just a little. Used to be. The kid blinked. Can you teach me? He nodded. Pull up a chair. The world didn't stop spinning just because he got knocked down. But this time, he wasn't spinning with it. He was standing still. Choosing where to move. That night, he walked back home. Same street. Same broken sidewalk. Same porch light flickering. But for the first time in a long time, it felt like his. Not because he owned it, but because he belonged to it. And tomorrow would be different. Not easier, but his. Some victories don't come with applause. Just quiet peace, and the strength to finally stop running. It had been 3 weeks since Jeremiah came back home. No cameras followed him now. No articles. No whispers in the school hallway. The world moved on. But Jeremiah didn't go back to who he was. He grew forward. Every Tuesday and Thursday, he volunteered at the center. He didn't just clean. He taught. Worked one-on-one with kids who had never heard of investing. Never even opened a bank account. He started a tiny weekend group in the back room. 4 kids at first. Then 8. Then 12. They brought notebooks, old calculators, questions. He brought honesty, patience, and time. He called it quiet money. One Saturday, Miss Val pulled him aside. "I've never seen them this focused," she said. "You're doing more than helping. You're building trust." Jeremiah looked at her, grateful, humble, still not used to compliments. "I'm just showing them what I wish someone showed me," he said. At school, he didn't dress fancy. He didn't try to fit in. He didn't try to disappear either. He just walked through the halls like he belonged. Because now, he knew he did. Trey and he started talking again. Slowly. Not like before. But real. Smaller conversations. Shorter texts. Still a little space between them, but respect sat in that space now. Not resentment. His mama got a part-time job at the library. Said she liked being around books again. She smiled more now. Slept better. And every night, she asked how his day went and listened. That was love. Not loud, but present. Nothing flashy happened. No viral moment. Just peace. And for Jeremiah, that was the win. One day, an envelope came in the mail. No return address. He opened it. Inside was a handwritten note. "Keep walking. You're already changing the world. Even if it's one room at a time. Miss Val." He folded it and placed it in the front of his journal. That night, he walked to the same bank from the beginning. Not to withdraw. Not to deposit. Just to sit on the bench outside. He looked at the doors, thought of the first time he walked through them. The laughter. The shame. The way his hands had trembled. He smiled, because he wasn't that kid anymore. Still quiet. Still calm. But not afraid to be seen. Same shoes. Still worn. But this time, by choice. Not every story ends with a crowd cheering. Some just end with a boy, sitting on a bench, at peace with where he's been and where he's going next. If that hits you somewhere deep, then this story wasn't just Jeremiah's, it was yours too. And if you haven't already, subscribe. Not for views, for moments like this. The next week, something small happened, but it meant everything. At the center, a boy named Malik stayed after the group session. He looked nervous. "You really think someone like me could learn this stuff?" he asked. Jeremiah didn't hesitate. "I don't think. I know." Malik nodded, then smiled. "I got $42.17 in my drawer. Can we start with that?" Jeremiah grinned. "Yeah, that's enough. It always starts small. But if you stick with it, small becomes everything." That night, Jeremiah sat at his desk, opened his laptop, clicked New Document. He titled it, "Quiet Money, a starter guide for kids who look like me." He didn't know if anyone would read it. Didn't know how far it would go. But it didn't matter. He was writing it anyway. Do you believe some people are worth the wait? Drop a heart in the comments if this story hit you. Because sometimes, love doesn't come with roses or grand endings. Sometimes, love is a kid with tired eyes and a full heart, quietly choosing to stay. Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed this story, you will surely love the next one. It's as crazier and more intriguing as you can ever imagine. So do check it out. Click on the image showing on your screen right now to watch the next one.